Sure.
And on those big titles, like Spider-Man, you should have your A-team on everything. You should
Absolutely.
have your A-team writer, your A-team cover artist, and your A-team interior artist on Amazing Spider-Man. Why wouldn't you do that?
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I'm Bueller. Today is episode 92 of the brand new Coffee and Comics Show, and as you can see, I'm not alone. I got my good friend Bob here with me. Bob, how you doing today?
Doing well, raring to go. Can't wait for this episode.
Awesome. We got a lot of great things to talk about. The subject that we're hitting on today was very surprising, the responses that we got.
Yeah.
And that topic was, what do you prefer, or what's more important, the cover art, the art inside of a book, or the story itself? A lot of interesting comments and kind of surprising, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I was very much surprised too, but let's get into it.
Yeah, exactly. But we always start off with the coffee that we're drinking. And right now, today, I'm drinking just a regular black coffee from Mocha Express. This is my third coffee already today.
Sweet.
I had regular coffee this morning, and then I had a cold brew coffee, and now I have regular coffee yet again.
Nice.
So I really needed it today. So I'm going to take a sip. It's still warm. It tastes good. Brought to you by Mocha Express. What are you having?
Also from Mocha Express, and this is also my third cup of coffee today. I had two regular cups. I went to Mocha Express and got myself a Bueller, a peanut butter mocha.
Oh, nice.
Frap. And it's a frap.
Very
and
nice.
It tastes very good.
There you go. No whipped cream, huh? Give me a break, dude. Give me a break. You got to put the whipped cream. It makes a difference. Especially when you get a little caramel on that whipped cream. Yeah. It's perfect. Yeah. It's like getting a 9.8 on your slab.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Is your pinky crooked? You know?
Give me a... Come on. Okay. Yeah, come on, man. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to our partners of the channel and of the show. We're partnering up with Comic Pro Line. That's a supply company. They do some great stuff. You can check them out on the link down below. Also, Blackbox Comics. You can check them out on their website, blackboxcomics.net. Enter the code Bueller10 and you save 10%. We're also partnering up with Scout Comics. You can go to their website and enter the code Bueller and you save another 10%. But Bob, you have one as well?
Also, it's TKO Studios. They put a lot of great stuff. If you go there and make a purchase and use the code EVERYTHING20, 20% off your first purchase. Can't beat that.
Very nice. And they have, I think, Wave 3 coming out pretty soon of their books, from what I understand. I guess they're supposed to be pretty good, because the first wave and the second wave were awesome as well.
Yeah, I'm reading the book Seven Deadly Sins right now.
Nice.
Really, really good.
Very cool. Let's go ahead and give you a rundown of what we're going to cover on today's show. The very first thing we have is our first five. That's brought to you by Comic Pro Line. And then, of course, we have Robbie's Pick of the Week. We already know what that is. Yeah. No problem. Then we'll have our topic. That's brought to you by Blackbox Comics. Back to our final five. Brought to you by Comic Pro Line. And then we have our newest segment, The Ones to Watch. That's where we talk about the shows that we're watching on TV. So far, people seem to enjoy that.
Yeah.
I have another documentary to talk about.
Nice.
I love documentaries.
So do I.
Yeah. And then we're going to do our giveaway announcement. We'll tell you who won from last week, and we'll show you the prizes for this week for both our Patreon members and our regular viewers. And our Patreon members can enter the regular viewer one as well. You just have to leave a comment on this video, and you're entered. And then we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. But let's go ahead and start with our first five.
Sure.
And I'm going to go ahead and go first.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, because I have the Terminator up here by Dark Horse Comics. And you know what? I was a fan of the first two Terminator movies. What the hell happened after that?
Don't know.
What is going on? There's been like 9 more movies, and they are horrible.
They are.
First two, awesome. Comic book, not bad either. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have another book, part of my first five, Big Girls #1. I actually got a chance to read that just a couple days ago, or yesterday, I believe, and really enjoyed it. Thought it was a fun title. It's interesting. It's a little violent. It's cute, and then it gets violent, and then back to cute.
Okay.
So, did you read it?
Not yet. I have it, and I can't wait to get into it.
There you go. And then I want to show this, because this was sent to us by... What's the CBCS? I don't even know. That's how out of the loop I am with graded books. But this was sent to us from CBCS, and we are going to be doing a review on their product. And there's a good chance that we might have the president of the company on the show with us as well. That'll be coming up in the future. But they sent us this. This is a signed one, so I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to diving a little bit deeper into this. As you guys know, this is not my forte, so I might have to lean on Bob a little bit for graded books. And then I have a couple other trades that were sent to me from our buddy Bruce. The Walking Dead. This is volume 25. Let's see if the stand will hold all this. I think it will. Look, he's like real nervous.
I was gonna help.
And then volume 20. He actually sent me a whole bunch, but I just wanted to show these two just to represent what he sent. And you know what? They're pretty cool. But let me set these down so that Bob doesn't freak out on me a little bit. We'll set those over here. I want to show this because people asked about this. Comic Pro Line does do the magazine size boards and bags. A lot of people asked about that in the comments. So they do have them. These will fit those Black Label ones and just regular magazines as well. So if you're looking for those, they are available through Comic Pro Line. And I want to give a shout out to Roger Delaney. He placed an order through Comic Pro Line. I think he's the first one to go through the Bueller Comics and Coffee one.
Nice.
So congratulations there, Roger. Awesome. Glad to know that you're trying out these supplies. Let me know what you think when they get them in your hands. And anyone who's trying these, I want to hear your feedback. Personally, let me know what you think about the product because like we've said, we're both fans of it. And we want to hear your feedback. But your turn is next. What's your first 5?
So this week, one of my favorite books was released, and that was Canto, the second volume. And so I brought some Canto books today.
You love that little Canto guy.
I do.
He does a little dude. I don't know.
So this is Canto 2. That's the regular cover. And then last month we had Canto and the Clockwork Fairies was released. And that's the main cover for it. And then this is a variant cover for it. And this is definitely one of the best reads of all time for me. Nice. And then I got some of the variant covers that came out. There's the 1 in 50. But
1 in 50?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But this is the one that I was waiting for, and this is the homage to the Turtles, and that's the 1 in 25 cover, and I can't wait.
So why do you like this little Canto guy? Does he remind you of something special?
Yeah, he does actually.
I literally know nothing about the Canto.
Seriously, it's an amazing adventure.
Yeah.
It really resonates on so many different levels. It'll touch those areas like when like that wonder that you had when you were watching Wizard of Oz when you were a kid, but also at the same time that sweeping epic. But the beautiful thing about the character itself, it really touches you on a heart level. There's a purity to the character, and it just. You root for him from the very beginning, and you identify with him. So well done.
All right.
All right. You know what? I actually have the trade for the first one. I'll bring it to you, and you can read it.
That's okay.
All right.
Okay, that's fine. I don't care. Well, those are pretty cool. You know, a lot of people say that Canto is really good. I mean, I've never heard someone say, "Oh, I don't like that series." It's always, have you read Canto? You should read it. It's really good. Yeah. So I know you've been on board for a while, and I like that. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cover. That's a 1 in 10 incentive cover.
Is it 1 in 10?
Yeah.
That was 1 in 25. You're right. It's 1 in 10.
I know this stuff.
You do.
I do. Anyway, those are our first 5 from both of us. And now let's go ahead and take a look at Robbie's Pick of the Week.
Hey everybody, I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups from Pop Culture Philosophers. You're checking out the Comics with Bueller channel. I really do appreciate him letting me be a part of the Comics and Coffee video. It's one of my favorite videos on YouTube every single week. So Bueller, thank you so much. And my pick of the week is...
Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto.
3 Jokers from DC Black Label, and it is no wonder that this is his pick of the week. This came out, amazing book. Did you get a chance to read it?
I did.
Loved it. What did you think of it?
I bought 2 copies.
Did you?
When's the last time you heard me say that?
Never.
Yeah, I had to. Because I'll tell you this is kind of cool. So there's the Joker one, and then I put the other copy on the back, and there is the Batman one, and it's in one of those clear backing boards.
Oh, nice.
And it makes it look kind of cool.
Very cool.
I like it. But I read it. And, it's funny because Robbie did a video about the 3 Jokers like years and years ago. It's got like 50,000 views and talking about the theory of the 3 Joker. At that time, he had no idea that it would take 4 or 5 years for this book to come out.
That's right.
So it's really interesting. You guys should go check out that video. It's on his channel, Pop Culture Philosophers. Check out his review of the book and also check out that old video about the 3 Jokers. That's literally from 5 years ago. A lot has happened since then.
For sure. That's amazing. But if you haven't been to Robbie's channel, definitely go and check him out and let him know what your pick of the week is.
he is actually going to be featured on a new segment as well that's on my top 10 video on Tuesdays. And it's called Comic Book Thunderdome. And he is a participant in there. And you are too, actually.
Yes, I am.
I forgot about that. Good luck.
All right.
I don't participate in it. I'm the commentator.
The moderator.
There you go. So awesome. Very cool. So there's Robbie's pick of the week. Go check out his channel, Pop Culture Philosophers. He's a featured channel on our homepage. Definitely take some time, check it out. You won't be disappointed. Let's go ahead and jump into our topic of the week. And our topic is brought to you by Blackbox Comics. And our topic is, what is more important, the cover art, the interior art, or the story itself? And this is very interesting. Like I said at the beginning,
Yeah.
I was blown away by the comments that we got, because we talked about this before we started, and we kind of think that we can relate to our audience pretty well that watches our stuff. And I think Bob and I are very much story-driven people as far as it comes to comics. But the response was very heavy cover and art.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like 80%. Not to say there wasn't people talking about story, but it was a lot of cover and art was the main important thing. So I was a little taken aback by it. I thought it was interesting to find out. So anyway, Bob, you were up first from Ryan.
All right, Ryan Squire, he says, "Hey Bueller, thanks for a solid previews episode. As for the question, as an illustrator myself, the visuals of a comic book are always appealing, but I have to say, I think it comes down to the overall creative team on a book. Artist, writer, inker, colorist, letter, and editor. I'm a sucker for a dope cover, though, and I'm always trying to hunt down beautiful ones I've missed throughout the years to add to the collection. Keep well, brother."
So a creative team makes a big difference, and some people like to work together. Perfect example right now, Donnie Cates likes to work with Ryan Stegman.
Ryan Stegman, yeah.
And the work that they do together is awesome, to
Yeah.
be totally honest. I mean, that Venom title is very nice. Now, Stegman hasn't done all the artwork on that, but he's done a nice portion of it. And who does he work with on Thor?
Yeah, I can't think of the guy's name. Yep.
Yep. Anyway, but good one, Bob. But you know what? It does. It really does come down to the team. Now, I also think of like when you want to think of artwork teams, Jim Lee works with Scott Williams, and then the other guy, Alex Sinclair. They kind of go together. They've been working together for years and years, and you can definitely tell when they're on the same project together.
Absolutely.
They did Detective Comics 1000. The cover with the Jim Lee cover was by those three. It was I called them the Three Amigos.
Right.
And they just like it, and you can tell that when the team works together. And I think that is important. And the thing is, a lot of times you'll hear about a team before the book comes out. Like Donnie Cates is getting together with such and such to bring you this book.
Yeah.
And like you get excited because, oh, they're working together. That sounds awesome. Or let's just say Mark Bagley, one of my favorites, been around a long time, is doing Venom with Donnie Cates. I was really excited to hear that.
For sure.
You know? And so when you hear these names, because they have such a good reputation, and then you hear that they're going to work together, that drives a book to go out and buy it. And honestly, I don't even care what the cover looks like at that point, because a lot of times and we'll kind of get to this in a little bit, but the artist inside doesn't necessarily do the cover.
Right.
And that's pretty much what it is right now. I mean, some do, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, it's someone else doing the cover, and then somebody doing the interior, and then the story, obviously. And then you get some people who do all three.
Sure.
The guy who did the Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, yeah. He did everything. He wrote, he colored, he did the artwork, all that stuff, and that was a great book.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it harkens back, you know, me being a huge Daredevil fan, you know, I've always had, you know, the creative teams in mind. You know, I mean, way back for, you know, Lee, and, you know, working with Bill Everett, and then, you know, later on you had Ann Nocenti working with John Romita Jr., then you have Bendis working with Malieve, Brubaker and Lark, and so I've always loved creative teams. I think that's great. But really when it comes down to it, the artwork, great, but it's story. It really is story that drives, you know, what's going on. So
I'm going to be showing some examples as we go along. Since we were talking about Venom, there's a Venom book right there with a variant cover. Not the artist that did the interior artwork.
Right.
So, but the story, 3 people got together and did this. So there you go. You got the next one as well, Bob, by John, it looks like.
All right, John, he says, it's the art for me. If the story and art are great, then the book reaches a higher level of collectability, especially if the interior artist is the same as the cover artist. No bait and switch with the art.
So that kind of exactly what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
The variant covers or just the regular cover, very seldom is it the artist that's inside.
Especially now.
Yeah, and especially for like, let's just say Marvel. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of Marvel titles, and we've kind of talked about this. The artwork inside, not that great.
No.
Not that great. I mean, majority of their titles. I mean, there's like 5 titles that are really nice.
Yeah.
And then the other ones, 15, 20, whatever it is, the artwork, I could care less. But the cover looks really good. Yeah. Because it's a different artist. Or maybe it might be the same artist and they just took more time because they knew it was the cover. Now, I liked, there's so many variants, okay? And a perfect example is that new Spawn book that came out this week, 309.
Right.
Okay? The one with McFarlane, who writes the story, he did the cover, okay? And that one is the one that's kind of spiking as far as value.
The gunslinger.
Compared to the Matina one and then the other one that was out there as well. So it does make a difference who's doing the cover. And like I say, you just don't get that a lot with the cover artist doing the interior. I mean, Shannon, our buddy Shannon.
Yeah. He
just does cover.
He's just a cover artist, yeah.
And
I'd love to see him do interiors.
He's talked about it.
Yeah.
And I would love to as well. I think that would be awesome. His artwork is so... to me, I look at something like that and I'm like, man, this must take him forever.
That's what I think.
To do a full book, man, that would take like a lifetime.
For sure.
Because it's so intricate and just detailed and just like it's a work of art. It's all a work of art, but it's like a masterpiece. Thing. And how to make every panel a masterpiece, that's a hard thing to tackle.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he could do it.
I'm sure he'd love to do it.
Yeah.
But, really when it comes down to, having the cover and be completely different from the interior art, you're right. The Marvel books right now, there's like last week, we had the Captain America, had that beautiful Alex Ross cover.
Oh, yeah.
When I looked on the inside of the book, I couldn't read it.
Yeah.
I mean, the artwork was terrible. I mean, even our buddy Sam, who will always pump Marvel, he said it was terrible.
I have it right there.
There you go.
I knew that would probably come up.
For sure.
That's a perfect example of a book. And I only buy this book because of Alex Ross covers.
Yeah.
I do not read it. I've read some of it. Didn't really care for the story that much. The artwork inside doesn't really do it for me, just like what Bob said, doesn't do it for him. But the cover, the Alex Ross work, and honestly, I pretty much collect all of Alex Ross's work that he does, Mortal Hulk, Captain America.
Sure.
That's the only reason I buy it. That's the reason it's on my pull list, and it has been since day one. Now, eventually I might read it, but more than likely I'll read something else.
Yeah. But, look, what Marvel's doing, they can take, a mediocre creative team and just throw a great cover on it and they got a sale.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like that.
It's been going on for years. All right, I got the next one here. This is from James V. It says, story is the most important. I've been reading about these characters for 30 plus years and care about how they act and about what happens to them. Interior art is important also because it helps the story along. While I love great looking covers and have bought some comics because of them, of the thousands of comics I have, I display only 6 or 8 of them. Hopefully more in the future, but 99.999% are in long boxes and you can't see them anyway. As a case, unless you have a set like this and you can put stuff on display on a whole comic book wall, and you can, a lot of times you can only do that if you're single, like me, you get away with it. But he's right. Most books are in boxes, are filed away, in long or short boxes. Short boxes for older guys, long boxes for younger guys. But, the story, we both fall in the same category. We really enjoy the story. And I want to give you a perfect example of a book that it looks horrible. I just say this. The covers, I never liked them. I understand what they were trying to do. And the interior art, couldn't stand it. Do you know what it is?
I have a feeling you're going to say...
All right. It's Olympia.
Yep, I knew it.
I couldn't, the artwork was bad.
Yeah.
And you're looking at this cover right here. It's not a great looking cover.
No.
But the story itself was so good. And this is number 3. And this, I believe, is probably one of the best books of last year.
Absolutely.
To be totally honest, I mean, it's a standalone book, and our buddy Robbie would say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The story that goes on in the pages of this book sold this book. It wasn't the artwork.
No.
I remember the first issue, and I looked at it, I was like, that's it?
Yeah, exactly.
What is that supposed to be? They kind of going for a Kirby look.
That's what they advertised it as.
But for me, it was a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
But the story was so good. One of my favorite stories.
Absolutely.
By far. And for me, I will put up with a book that might not look that great, but if the story is strong enough, and that's what this one is, I will stay with it. And I bought all of them. This was like my first read when I picked it up on Wednesdays. It's like when I went to the shop, got all my books on my pull list, this was like the first one I read.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's over, so that's kind of sad.
I mean, the writer did something that not many can do. I mean, he captured that essence of what it was like when we were kids collecting comic books, and I mean, it really resonated with that. And I mean, if you can do that in the writing, I mean, you're going to sell that book.
Yeah.
And the artwork inside of here, I think the last book, when I reviewed it to me, it looked like stick figure scratches on a storyboard with some color.
I don't want to take anything away from the guy because he created something, but it's almost like he purposely was trying to dumb it down. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but the artwork. Maybe he wasn't. If he was, I'm sorry. I want to apologize.
Right.
But it wasn't there for me.
No.
But I can look past that and go for the story, and that's exactly what I did with this book. So I'm very happy with it.
Absolutely.
I got the next one as well. This is from Talk Roll Fives. It says, I would say the most of the time for me, it will be the cover art that makes me pick up a book and flip through it. Depending on how it looks inside, I'll either buy or put it back. I will buy books solely on cover art if it's, say, a J. Scott Campbell or Art Germ, etc. As far as story goes, I will definitely pick up books written by likes of Donny Cates and James Tynion, regardless of the artwork. Take care and say hi to Bob for me. Hi, Bob.
Hey.
Nice of him right there. So we talked about the cover, and there was a lot of comments about the cover. Okay, I really like the cover. And honestly, comic books are visual. That's the whole thing is visual. I mean, there's storytelling, but you want to have a nice cover, attractive to the eye. I want to show some more examples right here. This is a great looking cover.
Yeah.
I don't even know what book that is.
Yeah.
I think it's Avengers. I could be wrong. But I bought it because of that.
Yeah.
Because of the cover. It doesn't even say the title on it. And I was wanting to collect all of those Battle Lines variants, which I have the whole set.
Sure.
And it didn't matter what the book was, but a lot of the covers for those were awesome. There was the Venom one, there was the Punisher one, the Ghost Rider one looked awesome, and like I said, I don't even know what book it is.
Right.
To be totally honest, I think it's Avenger, but the cover was appealing, and the cover does make you pick it up and take a look inside. That's where I run into a problem with Marvel. Because, like we just said, a lot of their interior artwork is not that great right now.
Right now, it's not. No.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. I mean, not all their titles. Daredevil, example, awesome looking book.
Yeah.
Cover's great, interior's great, story's great. Venom, pretty much the same thing. Interior's great, cover's great. Thor is the same thing. X-Men on the border sometimes. I kind of go back and forth with X-Men. Same thing with Wolverine, but some of the titles like Avengers and stuff, or the Captain America, or even the Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, I was like, it doesn't hook me as much as what I'd like it to do.
Sure.
And on those big titles, like Spider-Man, you should have your A-team on everything. You should
Absolutely.
have your A-team writer, your A-team cover artist, and your A-team interior artist on Amazing Spider-Man. Why wouldn't you do that?
Absolutely. I mean, look at Batman right now. I mean, they're killing it with James Tynion and Jorge Jimenez, right?
Yeah.
I mean, killing it. Your Spider-Man? What are they doing?
It's Sin Eater, man. It's a Sin Eater. He's going to Ravencroft. He's eating sins.
I mean, it's their flagship character, and it just seems like they're not putting into it what you know, and it does. It makes
it's kind of goofy looking.
It is.
That's the term I was looking for. There's a lot of Marvel artwork right now that's goofy looking.
Well, I was,
and
maybe
they're playing it down too. Maybe a younger, maybe they think that's what they like. I don't know. All right, Bob, you're up next. The one from Cody.
Sure thing. Cody says, I like a lot of the recent comic covers, but as the saying goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and art can be very subjective. That being said, the reason for most of the most desired comics is either the story or the fact that they may be a key issue or limited availability. Personally, I think you need a great mix of both, but especially the story. The most famous comics are due to their story, and those are what were adapted into movies, plays, television series, etc. But as someone else in the comment section pointed out, the worst thing is when the interior art is completely different from the cover art. I'm okay with a different artist as long as it's expected and not a whiplash experience.
Yeah. So he's hitting on some stuff we just talked about.
Yeah.
But one thing he did hit on was Hollywood doesn't care about the artist.
No.
They don't care what the cover looks like. All the movies we were watching or TV shows, they're based on the story.
That's right.
It's based on the story. I mean, they could be black and white stories. They could just be text on the page with no artwork at all, and that's what they're basing on. Because the script that they get doesn't have pictures on it.
Sure.
You know, it's just the story itself.
Yeah.
So as far as valuable, and we'll actually get to this a little bit later because it comes up again. All those books that are valuable because, it's optioned or it's a first appearance and stuff, it doesn't really have anything to do with the artwork. It's
That's right.
They're, like I said, they're optioned because of the story itself.
Sure.
And those books have some value to them. So if you're looking from that aspect of things, and not to say that some comics aren't valuable because of the artwork, because what's that one Batman with the Joker cover that looks like everyone wants it? I can't remember the number, but it's like the Joker. It's like a bunch of bats flying around.
Oh, yeah,
the
Jock cover.
Jock cover. Yeah, isn't that like just people want that because of that cover?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's has a lot of value to it.
The story has nothing
Yeah, they're not going to make a movie about that cover. No, but they'll make a movie or a TV show about the story that's in between the pages.
Yeah.
And so I always look at that and figure there's a reason why they pick up these books, and it's because the stories are so good. And I'm on the same boat. I enjoy the stories, and so it doesn't really, the artwork, like that one book I just showed, the Olympia, you know, the artwork, even though it could be off-putting sometimes, if it's a good enough story, I can bypass that no problem at all.
Absolutely.
All right, Bob, you're up next. You have Tim Sheets.
All right, so Tim says, I want to sound deep and mature and say it's the story. It mostly is. But cover art is always what catches my eye and draws me in. I think that's okay for comics because they aren't novels. They are a potential work of art. What's great is when you get a great cover, great interior art, and great story combined. I call that the trifecta of goodness. Example, the Immortal Hulk.
Well, I have an example right here. Look at that. Examples, like I said. So Immortal Hulk, Alex Ross cover, interior artwork is good. The story is great. You know, that's what drove this book was the story itself. Yeah. There was no option. There was no things like that going on. It was like, wow, this story is really good. And all of a sudden, this became Marvel's #1 selling book for a time period.
Absolutely.
Because it was so good. Because the story was so good. And, like he said, the trifecta. Beautiful cover. A cover. That's a thing. The A cover on all these is the one to get. You can't say that a lot with these books.
No.
It's always the variant, you know, for the most part.
For the most part.
But the A cover on this is the one that you want for Immortal Hulk. Like I said, the interior artwork is really nice. The story itself is fantastic, and you have a great cover. Another example I want to show this is Deceased #6. Now, Deceased is one of my favorites. The story is amazing. I've been on it from day one. They've got like 3 different versions now. This is a variant cover by Matina, Funky Cold Matina.
Yep.
It looks amazing, and the artwork inside is amazing.
Yeah, it's top notch.
They put their A-team on this book, and it paid off because it was their #1 selling event series last year.
For sure. Absolutely. I love it. Another great example is by Boom Studios.
Yeah.
Right? They're putting great creative teams together. The cover art's great. The colors are great. The story and the interior artwork is great. And, I mean, same thing with Deceased. That was one of the best events that happened last year.
Yeah.
And it's even continuing this year with further stories. But, you know, trifecta of goodness.
Yeah.
That does make a book much more collectible when it's all together like
Very
that.
much so. All right, Bob, you got the next one. This is a very long comment. You can handle this one?
I can. Okay.
Okay.
This comes from Alexander. He says, artwork. The reason I fell in love with Image Comics when they first came out.
Exactly. Now let's talk about that, okay?
Yeah.
And then I have an example. All right, there it is. Spawn, number 1.
Yeah.
That was their thing. Image came out, let's just be honest, storytelling wasn't that great.
No.
All across the board. I don't hear anyone telling me, oh, Wildcats, I read that was so good. Or Youngblood, it was so good. Or even the earlier Spawn issues, I never heard, the story was so good.
No.
They were all about splash.
The art.
And pizzazz. And the cover. And all these big muscles. And the artwork inside. And going off the panel. And rewriting the tradition of comic books themselves.
Right.
The story was an afterthought. It was an afterthought. Because every panel was like a cover.
That's right. Absolutely.
And that's where all the effort went into.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. Along with millions and millions of other people.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what the story is about at all. I couldn't tell. I know I had Wildcats. I know I had Youngbloods. I know I had this. Mm-hmm. I could not tell you anything what the story was.
Nope.
But I could tell you, that's a really good looking panel. Were you caught up in that?
I was caught up in that. It was the hot thing at the time. Every issue that came out of X-Men, every issue that came out of Spider-Man, or X-Force, and all those books, they were on fire. And then when all those guys moved over to Image, of course I was caught up in it. It looked amazing, but let's just be honest. As amazing as it looked, the novelty wore off pretty quick.
I miss them. I honestly, I miss that art style. They don't do that art style
Not
anymore.
Much.
Liefeld's art style is different. McFarlane barely does any artwork besides the cover, on some of his books. The bombastic, I'm still in a Robbie word, art style of the 90s is nowhere to be seen.
No.
And I kind of miss it because I would like to see that partnered up with a good team on a book. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think that would be really neat to see that art style mixed with a Donny Cates book. Let's go back to that well again. And, Matina cover or something like that. I think that would be awesome. Will that ever happen again? Will that whole exaggerated form come to play again? I don't know, but I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it would too. We see smatterings of it in books. People use it to effect, but not throughout the whole book like they did back then.
Yeah.
And I miss it. That was a fun time. But really, when it comes down to the collectability of those books, it's just about the art.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. And my favorite books are still story.
Yep. All right, I got the next one here. This one is from Plants Printed Periodicals. This is my first time responding to a question on your Coffee and Comics show. It says, I am mainly a story-driven buyer. I love a good cover, don't get me wrong, and also great art, but the writing and story is what makes me add the book to my pull list. Unfortunately, as a story-driven buyer, I don't buy a lot from the big two, except for speculation purposes. I find a lot of best stories come from the independent publishers. Vault, IDW, and Boom Studios have the best new stories I have read. In fact, since the comic stores have reopened, I am able to flip the spec books to pay for my comics every week for the last 2 to 3 months. Again, these are just my thoughts and opinions on the subject, as everyone is entitled to their own opinions. This is mine. Take care, and I love the Monday show you and Bob do every week. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for finally commenting, so that's pretty cool. I don't know how long these have been watching, but we got you, so that's pretty awesome. But let's talk about the indie titles, because that's a little different. And you can get away with different art styles on indie titles.
Sure.
Because, let's just face it, there's not a lot of superhero independent titles. Okay, they're all other types of stories. Now, the superhero stories are left up to, for the most part, DC and Marvel.
Sure.
And so there's a certain art style that probably fits those characters better. Perfect example. I don't know if I have it here. Here we go. This is, I think it's called The King of Nowhere. I bought this book. For one, the cover looks awesome. And I was like, man, I've got to give this a shot. So I bought the book. I opened the book itself, looked into it, and the artwork was very bizarre. And I was like, man, this is a different style of artwork. And it's not something that they could probably get away with in a Marvel book. Maybe something special like a DC Black Label or something like that. They could do it in that type of style, but not in a mainstream title. And I liked it. I liked that it was different. So the artwork itself and the cover itself they have a little bit of liberty. Another title is Alienated. I think that's a beautiful book. Now, is it the most detailed, as far as muscular structure or something like that? Not at all. But man, the panels on there are just bright and vibrant. The cover looks good. The story looks good. It's another one of those trifecta books.
Yeah.
Another one is Finger Guns by Vault. That's our buddy Justin. I love the colors in that book. I love the art style in there. It's simplistic, but it goes with the story. And that art style would not fit a Justice League book.
No.
Not at all. It just wouldn't happen. So I like the fact that we have the option for independent titles as far as what their artwork does, and like you said, the stories as well. Most independent titles really tend to hit on all cylinders for the most part. If it's a good one, the other stuff matches up. I mean, you're a big fan, right?
Absolutely. It's funny. I think we've talked about this before, but I don't remember a time ever in my comic book collecting where I've had so many independent titles that I pick up week over week now. I would say that indies probably make up the majority of what I pick up now. I still pick up my superhero books, but I'm loving the stuff that's coming out from these indie publishers. And when it comes to the artwork and the style that you get inside of there, because a lot of it's creator owned, they're taking chances with stuff, and they're doing things that are innovative and new, and like Ice Cream Man. There's an issue inside of there where you can read it front to back and back to front, and it's a palindrome. Who thinks of that? You'd never be able to do that with any of the superhero titles, because they have a set way to do things. Their editors kind of push things in a certain direction, and if you want to break the mold on something, go do that on your own time. This is the way we do it here. And I think, indies are killing it that way right now.
Yeah, another one, and I know this book, and we're kind of probably on the same boat, but Decorum.
Oh, my gosh.
People like that book. It's confusing. I'm in the same boat you are. But it's such a different type of art style.
Sure.
And it drives you to the book. The covers are different looking. The art style is different, but it fits. And it fits that type of book. It would not fit something else.
No.
So some things just go together better than others.
Sure thing.
And I like that art style in my independent books. And then I like the big image type superhero style on my Marvel and DC books.
Right.
And honestly, when I'm talking about like Deceased, the artwork in there is great. The artwork for like Batman is awesome.
Yeah.
That's their main title, and that's another perfect example of a title, Batman. It's their big title. They've got an awesome writer.
Yep.
They've got great covers. They've got great artists working on the interior. That's what your marquee books need to have.
Absolutely.
Come on,
totally
Spider-Man.
agree. Exactly.
All right, I got the next one here as well. This is from Tommy Nicodemus, I believe. Says, story is the most important thing if one wants to sell a comic book. Good art will sell 1 or 2 issues, but for ongoing series, one must have a good story. Art is more important when one is selling an art book, or Alex Ross. The books themselves, they sell because, and I said this, and I actually have a note here, it's because of what's in the pages, okay? It's from the first page to the last page. The ones that are worth the most amount of money is what's in the page itself. Is this the first appearance of a Punisher in this book? Yes, it's part of the story. That's what sells that book.
Sure.
It's not because of the artwork and what he looks like. It's because the character is in there, and you learn about that character. So if you want to make money, bigger dollar amounts, like I said, there is a market for artwork. There always has been, there always will be. But the big dollar amount books, the thousands and thousands of dollars, it's because of the story. It's because of what's being said from page 1 to page 30. It's what's in there, and that's what's more important. So if you're looking to sell books, higher dollar books, lower dollar books, I would say firstly go for the story.
Yeah.
And it's just, because I think you'll be happy, with the story itself. Because artwork is subjective. Some people like Peach Momoko, and some of the stuff is better than others. I think I saw one of her covers recently I really liked. I think it was the Event Horizon book. I thought her art style fit that perfectly. And then on the other hand, I saw her Spider-Man homage to Spider-Man #1.
Right.
Okay. That didn't fit. At least for me, it didn't fit. But the one for the Horizon one, it was awesome. I thought it looked great. And some things fit and some things don't. But I think the long-term investment purposes, it's got to be what's in the pages.
Yeah.
That will make you want to buy a book years and years later. Because, I mean, artists come and go, but the story is what people remember.
That's exactly right.
You are up next, Bob.
All right. This one comes from Ganjabar B.
Nice.
He says, I think a good story with a fascinating world full of lore and history to explore hooks me deepest. But a good cover and interior art are just as important. I could go on for days about how good color work, good artwork, and good inking make artistic masterpieces. The artwork and story are yin and yang, and I love it all. Bueller and Bob, your Coffee and Comics segment tackles the biggest issues and events in comics so well. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, first thing, as far as what we tackle, as far as our topics goes, and this is something I wanted to put out to people that are watching. If you guys have any ideas, because I've been taking a list, some people will drop comments in there. It's like, hey, we would like you to talk about this or talk about that. So I've been taking notes and writing those down. Some of them are really good, and some I don't know if we could do a whole show.
Sure.
But I'm thinking about like doing like a few different things, like one show and hitting like 3 different topics.
Sure.
A lot of people asked us to cover DC a couple weeks ago when everything was going down, and we literally just got done covering DC like 3 weeks in a row, like a month ago. So I looked at Bob, I go, I don't know if I want to hit that again so soon. We will go back to it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other stuff that we wanted to cover. So if you have any ideas or certain topics that you want us to cover, let me know. Actually, you can send me an email, comicswithbueller@gmail.com or buellercomics@gmail.com if you have any suggestions for ideas. And we'll take a look at it and see what we can put together, because there's always all sorts of topics. I mean, we have a list of stuff that we're going to cover, but we're always looking for more. So,
Absolutely.
And then back to he's talking about world building and the lore of books and stuff, you know. And let's just go to Chris Claremont for writing X-Men for 20 years or 20 plus years. That was awesome, you know. And it was like the story was so in depth, and the artwork was great. Don't get me wrong; the covers are great. I have them all in my collection. Okay, but man, it was the story. What's happening next? And that hooked you to where it didn't matter what the artwork was. It was good because we had good artwork, but something like that. And when you get a writer writing a story who's on a title for that long a time, the guy for Flash right now, Joshua Williamson, he's been writing it since the very beginning, issue 1, all the way up until like issue 90, and then they changed it to the old numbering. So he's done over 90 issues of Flash, solid through, no breaks. It makes a difference.
It does.
The continuity of the story goes a long way. And I just really enjoy that, to where Flash is a perfect example that comes out with an A and a B cover.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's whatever they got.
Yeah, whatever they got.
You know, because I've seen, that's another good example. The B cover is a cardstock cover, and it looks great. It's $1 more. I won't buy it. You know this.
I do.
I see that, and the A cover could be a blank sheet of paper, and I would buy that. That's just the way it is. But everybody's different, and that's what makes it so great, because there's so many different options, and there's enough difference between artwork and story and everything that everyone gets a piece of something they really enjoy. And that's what comics do.
Absolutely.
So I really like that. I think, let's see, you got the next one as well.
Sure thing. This one comes from Joseph Barbera. He says, it's always art for me. I always felt great artwork can carry a weak storyline and somehow make the comic book exciting, whereas lousy artwork can ruin a good storyline. Comics was always about being visual, a medium unlike novel books. That's what makes comics so special and endearing. I don't know if I agree with this comment.
Yeah, that's kind of why I put that in there, because now I do agree on a certain point, and this is probably not a popular opinion, but the Silver Surfer Black, okay, had a different type of art style in it. A lot of people liked it. I'm not saying I don't like it, but it was too distracting for me. It was too much.
Yeah.
And I think I told you one time, I said, I like it, but it's so distracting. It takes me out of the story itself.
Yeah.
I would much rather have a poster of the artwork in my house of some of the stuff that they were doing. So that actually took me out of the story, and I didn't even finish reading that story because the artwork was like that.
Sure.
I'm not saying it was bad. It was just so distracting for it. Well, like we said earlier, I can go through artwork that's not great, and if the story is good enough, I will stay with it. Now, if the story is average, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
If it's just an average story and it's got crap artwork, and I'll give you an example, which is a title that started off really good, okay, which is 20XX.
Yeah.
We love this book. It came out
first one.
number one. It was great. This book is in black and white. There's nothing to write home about as far as the cover, as far as the artwork itself. That's not why we were on it. We were on it because it was average, and the story was really good. The second issue came out. Whoa, man, that was awful.
Yeah.
And because the artwork couldn't save it, we both dropped it.
Absolutely.
We're like, done. And we loved the first issue.
Yeah. So far, out of this year, that's been the biggest disappointment because that first issue was so well done, so well put together, and then when we got to the second issue, it was just word bubble on top of word bubble.
It was crazy.
It was like a word bubble war going on between the pages.
Yeah.
And it just was just so off-putting.
Yeah.
But there's a great interview with Joe Quesada and Todd McFarlane where they go over this particular subject about whether artwork can carry a book or whether story has to carry the book, and it's very interesting. If you haven't watched it, go check it out.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting debate they have on it.
Well, it's interesting because of him. Well, let's just face it. His artwork carried the book.
Yeah.
His artwork carried Spider-Man
Sure.
and he was the writer.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his writing while I was buying that book.
No.
Not at all. I mean, it wasn't great, and I think he's said that before.
Yeah.
But that artwork carried that book. That artwork sold 3 million copies of that book, or whatever it is.
For sure.
Not because of what the writing was in the page.
Right.
Now, I'm guilty of that. I mean, I will buy McFarlane books left and right, and I've never read them.
Right.
But and even like the Marvel Tales, because he did the covers for those. He's another guy that I will just buy because he did the cover. He did a cover of Quasar. I've never read Quasar before, but I wanted it because it was McFarlane.
Because it was McFarlane.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and some of the other stuff he's done. I just wanted it just because it was him. And a lot of people do that. And I think I did a top 10 recently, and somebody said, I said, I'm buying this for the cover alone. It was the Captain America one, and I think they said, oh, I don't know how you could buy a book without reading the book. And I'm like, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to be one category.
No.
You can enjoy them all.
For sure.
I prefer story and then artwork. That's just what I prefer. But I like all of it.
Yeah.
I like it all. I like the cover. I like the story. I like the artwork inside. Some way a little bit heavier on me. That's a story. But, a good solid cover, I'll pay the price. And I'll show one right here. I bought this because of the cover.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. The story was horrible. I don't know if you read it. It's Mercy or whatnot. And I read the first issue and I didn't like it. I was like, I'm not buying this again. But I literally bought it because of that cover right there.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason. I was hoping it would be good. The artwork inside was actually pretty good, but the story I could care less.
Yeah.
So I just moved on. So
I'm guilty. I do the same thing. I mean, I love a good cover. I mean, I buy a lot of different variant covers strictly for the artwork. But really, still when it comes down to it, I'm looking for that good story.
Yeah.
Love it all.
All right, I got the next one here. This is from John Cortez. Says, story is a big part of the book. Artwork is important too, but nowadays it's the cover art. I think let's talk about the cover nowadays. Okay, what's going on right now? First appearance on the cover. That's a big thing. People are looking for that. Apparently that's, got to have the first appearance on the cover. Which is great. And a lot of people like buying that stuff. It doesn't really do much for me. But the McFarlane one, we just mentioned it. The McFarlane one that just came out, his cover, though he did because he's got that gunslinger on the front. That's the one people want.
Right.
He's on the cover. It's the same book. You turn the first page, it's the same book.
Yeah.
For all three versions of that book, you turn the cover over, it's the same exact book. But it doesn't matter. With his cover, it's worth $20 right now. And the other ones are selling for $4 or $5, whatever it is.
Exactly.
But there is a lot of emphasis on covers right now. And when I say covers, let's talk about the exclusive covers. Because there is a huge market just for exclusive covers.
Yeah, there is.
That are done. And you don't even know what book it is. It doesn't matter what book it is. Because they do, Tyler Kirkham does a lot of covers.
Yep.
A lot of people love his book. Del Auto, people love his covers.
Clayton
Doesn't
Crane.
matter what the book is. Momoko, a lot of people love her artwork. She had she's got literally 8 different covers coming out next week.
Right.
there's people out there that are going to buy every one of them and will never open that book. And you know what? It's perfectly great. I used to do the same thing.
Yep.
And I still do it a little bit right now.
Yep.
Not as much, but it's such a great thing to have so many options, and it's all good because we all enjoy the comics. But
Absolutely.
really, those exclusive ones, people don't even care what title it is. They literally don't care what title. It's like
absolutely.
It's artist. Who's doing it? Who's doing the cover?
Yeah.
What's the name of the book? I don't care. Who's doing the cover? And then they buy it.
Absolutely.
So I know you do that.
I do that too.
Yeah,
I mean,
do.
I've even given you a couple of them.
Exactly. They're beautiful.
That Mysterio cover with done by Clayton Crane.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Bought it strictly for the cover. Didn't care what was in the book at all.
Yeah. There's some pretty amazing covers out there right now, and especially with the exclusive market of covers, they're made to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And to be pieces of art and to be displayed on the background of your set or something like that.
Come on now.
So, all right, I got the last one here. Says from John Thomas, says to have all three, cover, art, and story, would be ideal. As a kid, my first choice would be the art, but as an adult, my tastes have changed. A good story wins hands down for me, followed by good interior art, and lastly, a good cover. I am the same way. When I was a kid, I didn't care what the words were on the page. Man, if it had bright colors and a bunch of superheroes plastered on the cover, I mean, here's a book right there. I wanted that because of the cover. And I was like 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And all the superheroes on there. The story was horrible.
Yeah.
The story in that book is horrible. It's one of my favorite books, and there's a story behind that, and you guys pretty much know. But you know what? When I was a kid, it was all about, just seeing fight scenes and, what's going on and stuff. And then I didn't read a lot of it. I eventually got into it more.
Yeah.
I started reading things as I got a little bit older. But when I was young, it was just looking at these bright, big, huge muscle characters, popping off the page and hitting somebody in the face and all that stuff. That's why I was drawn to them.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what the words were, until I got a little bit older.
Sure.
And now as I get older, you see the pendulum swing a little bit, and now it's like, does it really matter what the color looks like or what the art looks like? It's what the words on the page, that's what matters.
For sure.
And so I'm in the same boat as John. I mean, he's literally gone from a 180. It was probably cover, art, and then story, and now it's story, interior art, and cover.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the visuals when I was a kid, but it was the stories that hooked me.
Yeah.
And I loved the comics that I bought that I would go back and read over and over and over again. And comics were a little more wordy back then, and so
that's why I didn't read them. They're a lot easier to read right now.
But I came into it when I was about 12 and a half, and it was the story that hooked me, and I've never in the same sense. I've been a complete fan of comic books. I've absolutely loved the medium because of how much it touched me down and, resonated with me.
Yeah. No, I agree totally. And you know what? That's our last comment. And there's one thing I wanted to hit on before we kind of wrap it up. And this kind of goes to the sale of comic books and variants and ratio variants, because I know those come up quite a bit. And there's a lot of ratio variants that are worth a lot of money, but it's because of what's in them.
That's right.
It's the ratio, like the Miles Morales ratio variant, the first appearance, it's worth thousands of dollars. But it's not because of the variant. It's because it's what's in that. If that was just a regular book that was a 1 in 20, like the next issue that came out and it had Miles Morales in it after his first appearance, so second appearance, it's not going to be worth it. So the ratio variants, the reason why those ones, the ones that are worth a lot of money, is because of what's in those pages,
in the book,
which
and
makes a difference.
And a lower print run.
Yeah, or if you want one of those 1 in 500 purple covers for the Immortal Hulk, 25.
Right.
I mean, it's just a purple cover. 1 in 500.
Right.
I don't know anybody who wants that, but
Hero and the Kid, there's your ugly cover right there.
There you go, the purple cover. But I just wanted to point that out because nobody really hit on that before, and it's something I noticed, right away. It's like a ratio variance, even though it's a variant because of the cover, obviously, and it's a lower print. The reason why those are worth a lot more is because of what's in the page. Yeah. Just like the one that came out with the Robin King. The ratio variant, whatever that one, Death Metal one, is worth a lot more because of what's in it. Not because of the cover or artwork.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Wanted to put that out there. So anyway, that's our topic right there. And I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, I thought I was really kind of surprised by the comic. Not bad surprised, but it was really neat reading all these and just hearing everyone say. And I told Bob, I tried to cut this list down. My first cut was 25 comments.
25.
And I was like, that's way too much.
Yeah.
And then I cut down to 20, and it was down to like 18, and finally I got it down to 14. Normally we want to hit 10, but it was hard to do.
Yeah,
to be
for
totally
sure.
honest.
A lot of great comments.
Very much so. So let's go ahead and move on to our final 5, brought to you by Comics Proline. And do you want to go first on this one?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, let me take these down and go for it.
Yeah, so one of the comments had mentioned J. Scott Campbell covers, and so I brought some J. Scott Campbell covers. So the first one is Star #1.
Nice.
I really love his artwork. Then Black Cat #1. I think he's become more known for doing the ladies.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I wish I was known for that.
It's great. The next is the Gwen Stacy #1. I like that cover. I like to get the Virgin cover of that.
Yep.
And then this is the Strange Academy.
Yep.
This is the Virgin. I love that cover.
I picked up #1 of that, the third printing the other day, so I'm going to give it a read.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then this one is Avengers #1. This is the Stan Lee tribute.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite covers that he's ever done.
That's really nice.
Yeah. And it was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
Very cool.
And so there's some J. Scott Campbell. It's my final 5.
Not bad. I got mine here. I'm sticking with the X-Men on mine.
All right.
X-Men #78.
Nice.
Number 75. Got to have some old books in here, you know.
Absolutely.
Number 74. Number 71. And number 70. All great X-Men books. Here's the thing about the X-Men. What do you know what issue they started the reprints? It was around the 60s.
Around the 60s.
Yeah, around the 60s or maybe late 50s. But from that point on, all the way up to 93, they were just reprints of older stories. And sometimes they make a new cover, or they would just use the existing cover and change the colors on the cover itself. So these are actually reprints. They're not reprints, but they're just the story retold again.
Yeah.
So they're in continuity of, you know, the regular line, like that's issue 70 or whatnot. That's 70.
Right.
But yeah, that title just wasn't selling well.
No, it wasn't.
So they just reprinted a bunch of stuff and just put another number on it and sold it like that until something new came along, 94 obviously. And then Claremont took over from there.
Thank God.
Yeah, but the rest is history, to say the least. But really, I'm trying to collect a full X-Men run. I'm trying to collect 1 through 300 is my goal.
Sure.
And right now, I've got like 250 of them.
Nice.
So I have everything from like 120 all the way up to 300. So the ones I'm missing are the ones before that. And number 1 is one of them, obviously.
Right.
And a few other big ones as well. So, but someday I'll find them in a 50-cent bin.
But I noticed that you've got them rebagged and board in the Comics Pro line bags, and they look nice. They do really look nice.
That's why I told you I rebagged and boarded all my X-Men books in the new stuff. I did it for X-Men. I did it for Immortal Hulk, for the Venom. And Iron Man is the next one I'm going to rebag and board for all of those. So, because that's another set I'm working on. Anyway, that's our final 5. Let's go ahead and get to our next segment. And this is the ones to watch.
Yeah.
And this is brought to you by nobody. We don't have a sponsor for this one yet. But, you know what? Maybe Netflix. You never know.
Right.
But these are basically shows that we are watching on TV or streaming services that we're enjoying. And Bob, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Yeah, the one that I watched this week, it's called Project Power. And it starred Jamie Foxx. And it basically had to do with a designer drug that when you take it, you get a superpower for 5 minutes. And the superpower is basically it's unique to that particular person. So anytime you take the pill, whatever power comes out, that's your power. And the cool thing about it is you know, the first time you take it, you may get a power or it could kill you. So
that's the cool thing.
That was the cool thing. But I thought it was a really cool story. It was a different take on, you know, superhero and powers and vigilantes, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, that's a movie, right?
It's a movie.
Yeah. I checked out maybe the first 15, 20 minutes of it. It didn't hook me. I mean, it looked kind of cool when I got the premise and stuff. But like I've said this before, Netflix, their previews or commercials tell you the whole story of the movie.
That's
or
true.
the TV show.
Yeah.
And it's literally, I'm like, I could watch the 3-minute caption and literally know exactly what's going to happen in that movie.
Right.
And that's pretty much what it was. But it looked great, and it's got that Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yep.
He's in there as well. He's one of my favorite actors. I loved him on Third Rock from the Sun. And but it looked cool, but it just didn't grab me that much. Maybe I have to revisit it and watch the actual full movie.
Yeah.
But mine is another documentary, like I said. And because I like documentaries. So this one is also on Netflix. I don't think it's an exclusive, but it's called Tread.
Tread.
Do
Okay.
you know what that's about? Okay. So I got some notes here because I remember this. So in 2004, there was a gentleman. His name was Marvin Heemeyer or something like that. And he lived in a small town in Colorado called Granby. And he was not having a good life. And he didn't like his neighbors. He didn't like the officials in the town. And he decided to get a bulldozer and put steel frames and concrete all around it and destroy his hometown.
What?
Do you remember this on the news?
I do.
Yes.
That's right.
That's what this documentary is.
Oh
It's
my
called
gosh.
Tread, okay? I remember this on the news. I remember watching this guy, and there's literally, they couldn't do nothing. They couldn't do nothing because there was no way to penetrate this guy's contraption that he built.
That's right.
It's fortified, and literally, he pretty much ran until he ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And he demolished the town. I mean, he went through and he destroyed, like, town hall. He destroyed businesses, homes, all this stuff. Nobody knew he was building this contraption. He bought this bulldozer at, like, some kind of auction, and then he was at this place, and he just had a little spot, and he started building these walls for it and all this stuff. And
Made a
eventually,
tank.
eventually he had enough. He had many disputes with town folk, as far as land rights and all this stuff, and he thought they were all out to get him. The thing about this, he left all these audio tapes, and they play these audio tapes through the whole thing. So you can literally hear the guy kind of talking about the conspiracy theory. I mean, I think it was more conspiracy. I mean, he believed it to be true.
Right.
But I don't think there was as much people out to get him as what he thought.
Right.
Okay? And you can kind of hear him diving into madness. And obviously he went mad because
He snapped.
he snapped. And they take that, and then they also have original footage of him doing this, because this was covered on the news quite a bit, aerial footage, on the ground footage, and then they also make their own footage, and with special effects and all this, so they kind of bring it all together. So it's actually done very well. Now, I remember this, and I didn't know this part, though. I remember all the coverage on this, and then it disappeared, and there was no coverage. And the reason why is the very next day, Ronald Reagan died. And the very next day, all the news switched over to Ronald Reagan. And then you never heard another word about this.
Yeah.
Now, if there wasn't another huge news story, this would have been a huge thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, with the passing of a president, that's going to get front page news.
Sure.
And that's why this story kind of got buried a little bit. But it's a great documentary. Unfortunately, the ending did not go well for this gentleman.
Right.
He decided he's literally had enough and took care of that. But it's definitely worth a watch. And if you get some time, it's about 2 hours long. It's called Tread. It's on Netflix. It's a real story. It's very interesting.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, very cool. 2 documentaries. Look how smart I am.
Come on.
Give me a break. So let's go ahead and get to our giveaways. And let's go ahead and tell you who won last week. Let's show you the books from last week. We'll put those down there. This was the books from last week's giveaway. This is Biggs and Tiny, number 1, brought to you by Blackbox Comics. Secret Wars, number 1. 52, week 11, the first Batwoman, right? Yep, Batwoman Begins. And then She, autographed by Billy Tucci as well. So the person who won this is Lost in Comics. They left a comment, and they are the winner.
Awesome.
So Lost in Comics, I actually think I know who they are. They have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Most of the times I don't know who these people are. I hope they get in contact with me, so now I know at least I can get in contact with them. But congratulations, you won that, and that was for just leaving a comment on the video. So hopefully I'll hear from you pretty soon. But let me show you this week's giveaways. We'll set these down. Man, there's so many books.
By the way, Lost in Comics is a great channel. If you haven't checked them out, definitely go and check them out. Will did an interview with them.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Not that long
That's
ago.
right.
Great guys. They really are. Really
Yep.
family-oriented, awesome dudes.
So this is for our Patreon giveaway. And I have IT #1 by Blackbox Comics. We have another copy of Chi signed by Billy Tucci.
Nice.
And we have this awesome She-Hulk Marvel graphic novel magazine. This is like a collector's item.
Wow.
So that's just the regular giveaway for the Patreons. And we're going to announce the winner for our Patreon one next week along with our regular giveaway as well. So that's for our Patreon. Mm-hmm. And then this one is for just our regular viewer. Let me show these. Man, I'm getting a pile right here. Stay right there. For the regular viewer, and our Patrons can enter this as well. You just leave a comment on the video. Mm-hmm. Project Icarus #1 by Blackbox Comics. And this one is from Comic Pro Line, She-Hulk, Savage She-Hulk #1.
Nice.
Her first appearance. Stan Lee wrote it. Awesome book. So that's the giveaway for this week. All you got to do is leave a comment down below. Let me tell you guys something. There's, like last week, 6,000 people watched this video. There was only 300 comments. There's a big chunk of people that aren't leaving comments that could win some books.
Wow. And I mean, like, first appearance of She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And the giveaways are just beginning, folks.
Yeah, exactly. So all you got to do is leave a comment down below. Like I said, we will ship out everything at the end of the month. So the people who have won the previous giveaways that we've done in the first 2 episodes and this one, they'll be getting their prizes very soon. And we're starting a new month, obviously. So that way, at the end of next month, we'll ship out all the winnings for those 4 episodes as well.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. So there you go. That's a little bit of everything right there.
For sure. This is a great show.
Giveaways, talking about stuff, all sorts of goodies and everything. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long week. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
And actually, when this drops, it'll be a brand new week.
Exactly. So why don't you tell them a little bit about Everything Comics?
So Everything Comics, my main show is a coffee and comic show. Drops every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's been going great. Got a couple of things coming up. We have a battle draft that's coming up on September 11th, which I'm really excited about. We're going to do a Battle of Hell's Kitchen. We're going to draft our best street-level Marvel teams, which I'm very happy. It's going to be awesome. And then I got a couple other things planned. Just stay tuned because it's going to be awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, Everything Comics. You can check out his channel. It's a featured channel on the Comics with Bueller homepage. It's been that way for a while. He still hasn't invited me to come on his coffee show yet. Like I said before, he comes here every week. He's only had me on there like 2 or 3 times. I don't know what the deal is, but you know what? Maybe I'll guilt him into it next time.
All right.
It's not my fault. What's going on, man? Every week you're sitting there.
This is true.
Come on.
All right.
Anything else, man?
I don't think so, man. This was an awesome episode. Great comments. My heart. I mean, everything about comics. That's what we're talking about here. And interior artwork, covers, and great story. That's what makes up the hobby that we are into. So I love it.
Absolutely, man. It all kind of goes together. It's all pieces of the puzzle. And when they all fit together perfectly, you get one of those books. It's like, oh, yeah, this one's a keeper. Some of them aren't keepers.
Some are not.
Some are. So it's pretty cool. But I want to say thank you to everyone. And I also want to say if you'd like to help support our channel and this show, you can join our Patreon. It's the price $3.99, the price of 1 comic book a month. If you think we provide the value worth 1 comic book a month, please go ahead and join our Patreon. We've had some new members join. We're up to 50 members. We're halfway to our goal of 100.
That's awesome.
I don't know why that's the goal, but I just said it like that and said, okay, sure. But I want to say thank you to our patrons. You guys will be on our scroll that comes at the end of the video. I got to update that with the new people as well. I always I have a template for it, and I just have to put the names, and I always erase it. And then I have to start over, and then they're all the names all over again. So what are you going to do, right?
Come on.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Hopefully you have a good week. Look for us tomorrow, Tuesday. I got my top 10 video. Wednesday, the preview video. And like I said, on Tuesday, there's a new segment called Comic Book Thunderdome. It's a little segment. It's just kind of fun. And there's prizes for the people that are in it. They get a chance to win a oatmeal packet and a coffee, one of those coffee K-cup things.
Yes.
And shipping not included. So... Whatever, right? All right, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye. A little late on that, okay?